want to talk about a concept I learned, basically called being a Renaissance person, right? Being the Renaissance man. Now, what does that mean? And I'm going to give a story of how that kind of relates to me and how I find this is best, put forward and that you can practice. And so at the end of the day, who am I to say anything? I'm just giving concepts that I've learned that I found have helped me, and you guys can do with that information whatever you want if you guys are listening or watching this. So, what a Renaissance person is, it's basically having an inept amount of knowledge in forms of life that, reflect Renaissance ideas. So, think of art, think of language, think of, writing, think of reading, stuff like that, politics, science, right? Like stuff that's outside the norm, music. So stuff that's kind of outside the norm, but basically aids you in your decision making, aids you in your processes going forward. Now, for me, and I'm just going to give an example of how I learned this and how I was able to see the benefits of this, right? So there's a guy I follow. He teaches a lot of good stuff just about good concepts to follow, laws of efficiency, law of success, tested throughout time, and, predicated for by people who have been successful. And one area of myself that, he recommended that I be inept in, then that I have been inept in, is definitely language. So I do French, it's nothing significant, but I do French, and I'm on like a 3-year streak on Duolingo. Now it's not much, but those 3 to 5 minutes every single night, they do add up, right? You can't truly learn a language if you're not immersed in it, but when you get repetition every single day of the same concepts, right? The same base concepts that you can use to construct a language, it becomes not second nature, but it does become way more prevalent in your mind. Now, a big idea behind this Renaissance ideas and the Renaissance mind is that iron sharpens iron, right? So for me, myself, having known the structure of French, right? French is very similar to English, but there's a lot of differentiators. So I'll give you an example. When you're saying, I don't do something, in French you would say, I know speak not, right? So if you said, I don't speak, you would say, I know speak not. Now, one thing that I found that this, structure of language helped me is in coding, right? Because in coding, when you're using chronological blocks, right, you have to keep stuff like in block coding. I know now with AI, you can do all the AI, like the AI can do all the hard coding for you. You just have to know how to set it up, how to compartmentalize it. And so stuff like coding, right, you have to put stuff inside of a block to make it work, right, to make that function. In French, you have to put, right, like I don't speak, very simple, very simplistic, as you have to put it inside of that block, right? You don't just say I don't speak, you say I know speak not. It's inside that. And so that's just one area that I found I've really benefited from, right? Iron sharpens iron, and that I'm sure is going to be so much more true as I continue to develop these skills. That's something that, you guys can consider and do as well. And at the end of the day, if you look back 5 years from now and you said, and you took 10 minutes out of your day to learn a new language, do you think you're going to be kicking yourself in the butt saying, I wish I didn't learn that new language? No. So I think it's a no-brainer, realistically. But some good ways to, apply this. Make a list of everything that, think of Socrates, think of, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, think of Karl Marx, think of Leonardo da Vinci, these Renaissance men, right? Like, they weren't just inept in one area, they were inept in a lot. So, to apply this, and to have this, instructed with the best amount of output that you can get, identify those areas that these people, right, like these great philosophers, that they were inept in, that they studied, that they were, every area of their life, and just write down the ones that are most important to you. Write down the ones that you enjoy doing the most, right? There's another example of, an idea that I learned from the guy that I actually learned this from. But, there's health, wealth, love, and happiness. Those are the 4 pillars to a good life. If you find happiness in doing things that will better yourself for, wealth, it could be relationships, right? Like, let's say at a table, and you're going to find this, and this isn't my words. At the end of the day, nothing I'm saying is truly coming from my mind. It's an amalgamation of great thoughts from great thinkers. And one day you're going to be sitting at a table across from someone that you had no idea that they are going to be a pivotal part of your life, right? Whether that be a business partner, whether that be someone that you're going to have a long-term relationship with. And let's say, for example, right, like let's say you're in a big group and someone says something about, let's say, post-World War I Germany, and you by chance just happen to learn history, right, and you happen to connect a story that this person is obviously interested in, you're automatically going to have brownie points, right? And not just with that person too, but think if you're sitting at a table and you give good insight, you give insight that truly holds value in a conversation, you're not just going to be blended into the background, right? You're going to be someone who guides that. You're going to be someone who was seen as giving valuable input into a situation that everyone is interacted in. And you're going to be placed higher. Now, that's just one area, right? Think of wealth, right? Think of a business partner. Let's say, for example, and I know for me, right? My business partner right now, he is a killer. He, we both complement each other in areas that we're good at, right? He has more time. I have more resources because I'm working a job right now. But he's a killer. And this is something that, might not necessarily be the Renaissance person, but here's an example, sense of humor, right? My sense of humor was the only reason that me and him started talking. It's the only reason that we connected and we are where we are today. And it's going to be something that I know can and will flourish into a good partnership. And so sense of humor, that's another thing, right? If you could have, and this is something I read on evolutionary psychology the other day, a good sense of humor actually is, an area that women look for when they're looking for mates, right? And that comes down to if you can be cognitively inept enough to, make jokes here, to handle a conversation well, then, you just have more cognitive competence. And that's going astray from the Renaissance, man. But again, right, that sense of humor, that got me a killer business partner. Only because I had that sense of humor. Now, health, wealth, love, you guys kind of get the point that I'm trying to paint here. But regardless, right, like learning these areas, there's no way that you're going to be bad at yourself. There's no way that it's going to hinder your success, whatever that success may be, if you learn these other things. Now, like everything, the good things don't come easy. You're going to have to, make new habits, right? Let's say you're going to read a book a day. Let's not say a book a day. Let's say a book a month. And you're going to pick an area that is most important to you, right? It's gonna come from formulating new habits, but those habits will prove to, immensely benefit you in the future from that. So that's just a concept. And again, at the end of the day, this is not my idea. Who am I to say this? But I'm learning these from other people, and I've found that this has benefited me in areas, and I just wanted to share what has worked for me so far, concepts that I've learned, that I've, put forward, that have been proven to so far work. So that's my 2 cents for the day. Become a Renaissance man. Again, I'm going to be documenting my journey daily. I'm just going to be making videos, finding my voice. Everything I can document, I'm going to be documenting that. So if you guys want to follow along, it would be very much appreciated. With that, I hope that you guys kill it, do the hard work, do the things you don't want to do. It will prove to benefit you in the future. And with all that being said, stay wise.